I want to start today with the big announcement. Huge, you might say. Here at the Megyn Kelly Show, we've welcomed many of the 2024 contenders. Vivek Ramaswamy has been on a bunch of times, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Chris Christie. You may remember my lengthy sit down just last month or late July with Governor Ron DeSantis. Even RFKJ has been here since his announcement, as well as before. But next week, I'll be interviewing former President Donald Trump. It will be my first interview with a former president in 7 years. And there is so much to get to. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be great. It's going to be spicy and it's going to be tough, but it's going to be good. And hopefully we're both going to enjoy it. I think you're all going to enjoy it a lot too. We're going to have a lot of time to get into a variety of topics in person, sitting down with him in person. And then we will air it in full on Sirius XM Thursday, September 14th. Okay, mark your calendars if you want to listen to it live. Thursday at noon, September 14th. It will, of course, then also become available a little later in the day on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and all podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, etc. I'm really looking forward to bringing you this one and many more to come. I'm very glad that he agreed to do it. He's not saying yes to everyone. And to his credit, Donald Trump knows that I'm not somebody who suffers from Trump derangement syndrome like the vast majority of people in the media, but I'm also not a sycophant, so I'm not going to go in there and be a bootlicker. It's going to be fun, and he can handle it perfectly well. So looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Mark your calendar. And now, Ric Grenell, who was a key part of Donald Trump's administration, he joins me live. Ric, great to see you. So I'm excited for this. I think this is going to go great. What do you think?
Wow, September 14th. I just wrote it down. I think it will be fantastic. So many people are going to be thinking about the last time you interviewed him. I had a flashback while you were talking about being in your studio in Fox when we both worked at Fox. And that was during the presidential. And we had so many times where we talked about different issues with Trump. And I think it's true. I think, you were tough. I think the way that you just said it is that you're not a never Trumper. And you're not a sycophant, and that's, I think, great. And credit to Donald Trump. He's been doing interviews where he mixes it up and isn't afraid to get in there. So
he went on CNN for God's sake. I mean, he's definitely not afraid to mix it up.
Town hall with Caitlin, the whole town hall.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I'll tell you, it's been nuts because I saw Trump at the Charlie Kirk Turning Point event in July, and we hit it off. We had a nice sort of glad-handing moment. And I talked about it on the show, saying it was great to see him. And I talked about there's no question he has a natural magnetism. Whether you love him or hate him, that is indisputable. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. He walks into the room, even before he was president, but especially post. And there's an air that must be paid attention to. That's just who he is. It's a lifetime of celebrity and now becoming really the most famous man in the world. So I talked about it on the show and said, I'm very glad that all that nonsense between us is water under the bridge and we're just in a normal journalist covering, president or former president situation. The left freaked out at those comments. Entire podcasts were devoted to those comments, Ric. Like, oh my God, what's happened to Megyn Kelly? She's bent the knee. They need me to hate him for some reason. They need as many sort of foils to Donald Trump as they can get. And if they think you're one and you turn out not to be, they become apoplectic. It's just like a robotic chip has malfunctioned.
Look, I think they're apoplectic about everything you do. They're always watching, your time at Fox, your time at NBC. They're just, I was going to say something that I would regret, actually, so I'm not going to say it. But let me just say it this way. You're smart. I know you from a time personally when I worked at Fox, and I know your heart and how kind you are. But that's not always what comes through in the media. They like to have a one-dimensional Megyn Kelly. They also like to have a one-dimensional Donald Trump. I've worked for some big name politicians, Mitt Romney, John Bolton, people who are never Trumpers now. And I know the dimensions of all of these people. I try, as somebody who was on the inside with people, to not trash former bosses. Even if I disagree with them, I try to, be more positive about it. And that means giving them more than a one-dimensional look, right? The people who really know people try to give you stories and make it more than just black and white. But I always think with you, with Trump, there's a lot of people that they just try to make one-dimensional, and I think it's really disingenuous. I will say this though: I think social media has really busted that ability of the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, to be able to define somebody just with one dimension. Now you've got this long podcast. You've got the ability to have a whole bunch of conversations and to show who you are, and besides just a one dimension. Not everybody is that lucky to be able to have that long conversation, but I think people who have been in the media realize that it's really disingenuous what the media tries to do. And I put Trump in both that category.
For sure with Trump. I mean, it's insane. I'll say this, somebody I really like down at the Jersey Shore, a woman I don't know well, but I see her in the store every year. And I love this woman. She's a Democrat. She came over to me and she was upset after I said that thing on my show about having seen Trump and it went so well and I was glad to see him. She was upset. And she said, I don't understand. After the way he came after you, what happened with your family, like, I don't understand how you can be okay with him. And I said to her, in my business, if you hold against people, especially politicians who justifiably don't like the media, that's my role. If you hold that against all those people, you're not going to have any connections, any sources, or anyone with whom you have a decent relationship. You can't be fighting all the time over big slights or small slights. And I think, if I may, it's to my credit that I'm able to put that shit behind me and move right on. Like, that's a life coping skill that more people should have, but especially journalists who too often can't stop making it about themselves.
Well, here's my problem, and I'll put you in the journalist category for this. You all build a career out of criticizing people. And then the first time you get criticized, they freak out. And that's my problem is that don't put yourself into the public sphere of criticizing everybody else if you can't take it yourself, including myself, people who run for office, people who get politically appointed to office, people who are leading the public, journalists who are on TV. I mean, gone is the day that journalists just get to, sit behind a desk and their name is on a little print report and nobody knows who they are. Now they all want, Newsmax contracts or MSNBC contracts or Fox contracts. And so if you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to be somebody who publicly criticizes people, you better be able to take it. And I love to see reporters who write criticism, and then when you criticize them on Twitter, they block you. Just like, I can't take one little criticism after I just wrote a whole.
I don't think I've ever blocked anybody on Twitter. I don't think, unless Abigail Finan got on there and did it. I do not block people. They may annoy me, but I'm fine hearing dissenting points of view. Now, if you're like sexistly trolling me, that kind of crap, you'll get muted. You'll get muted. Yeah. But I would never give somebody the satisfaction of blocking them. Why would I? It was Ray Kelly, former police chief in New York, whose son, Greg Kelly, is a friend of mine, probably yours too, over at Newsmax. And Ray always said, why would you do somebody the courtesy of telling them what you really think about them? Someone you really don't like. Why would you do them the courtesy of showing that they have this power over you? I love that advice. Junk science. That's what the doctor called many of those fruit and vegetable supplements on the market. Junk science because they use extracts of common produce department fruits and veggies with few health benefits. But I want to tell you about Field of Greens. Field of Greens is different. They use the whole organic fruit and vegetable, not a watered down supplement. And it's backed by a better health promise, which I'm going to tell you about. Each ingredient in Field of Greens was scientifically chosen to support vital organs like heart, lungs, and kidney health. Others support your immune system, blood pressure, metabolism, and healthy weight loss. Their better health promise is simple. The next time you're at the doctor for a checkup, if the doc doesn't say, hey, you're looking healthier than before, you get your money back. That's a deal right there. So let me get you started with 15% off. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use my promo code MK. That's promo code MK at fieldofgreens.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.